Hello and welcome along to another episode of this FM19 story, part of the Furniture with me, Daniel. It's season 10, episode 1, and today we start a brand new season with a transfer special, as there's lots of new faces at the club and plenty that are on their way out. We've got a couple of big transfers that may be on their way out, and a massive disappointment to come as well. We thought moving into the new stadium would solve our financial problems, but we're still getting bid under the table by teams, and unfortunately we're still getting offers that are too good to refuse. So we've got one player that may be going out. I'm sure you can probably guess who it is, who's going to be worth the amount the stadium cost. To put it into perspective, that's a 15,000 seater stadium paid for just by selling one player. It's the player I least wanted to leave, but unfortunately we're going to see who he's going to in a minute. But first is news of the new stadium. Let's go to the facility screen. It's the most important one. We have officially moved into the aptly named Torquay Stadium, a 14,775 capacity all-seater stadium built this year, and we're moving into some excellent facilities. The one thing that was even more of a pleasant surprise to me, I remembered when the initial plans were made, they said about an expansion capacity, and I said it was somewhere in the 20,000s. It's actually 29,500. So our capacity could be almost 30,000, which will allow us to compete in the Premier League, let alone the Championship. However, to get to the Premier League, we need to significantly improve our team on the pitch, but we haven't been able to do that due to financial restrictions. We've still got a fairly small wage budget, and until we start to increase our matchday revenue with this new stadium, we're not going to be able to improve much. We're also still getting huge offers from big clubs for our players, as in out of this league. I'm not sure if they're even realistic at some points, but we're going to have a look at those now. So you can see more generally our facilities are coming along well, but if we go to our transfer screen and go to the history to see the deals that have already been done, as they're the important ones for the first game, and then we'll look at the ones that are pending at the moment, which is where most of the disappointment lies. So in terms of outs, if we go and look at our released players, there's not too many on there, just the one in fact, which is Connor Courts, a young right back that came in a couple of years ago, looked like a decent prospect, but he never quite made it, and now he's at Dundee United. He was on loan there during the second half of last season, and he's decided to go there on a free this summer, so he'll be plying his trade in Scotland. We've got plenty of others that have gone out, a few of the first team squad players who have been out on loan or rotting in the reserves for the last couple of years, and then a lot of youngsters and other players on the fringes of the team moving out on loan for the season. So I'm going to ignore some of the ones that we're not too worried about, but we've got Freddie Waters going on loan to Huddersfield. We got him on a free last summer, the left back, and loaned him out again. Amika Obi was a backup last year. He's gone to Sheffield United on loan. Two new signings there who have both gone out on loan to Southend. We'll look at them in a moment when we deal with the ins. Ricky Ash was the first sale of the summer, 450 grand to Nottingham Forest. A very slight profit on him, but he was a bit of a disappointing signing in truth. We've got a couple of players loaned out to our feeder club Truro. The first of those was Adam Baxter. We sold backup keeper Ian Brunt to Forest Green for a nominal fee, and then Eamon McCabe to Pompey for 100 grand. He's kind of taught me a lesson, this one, and I've applied it while I've been dealing with offers this summer for players that I really want to stay at the club. We had offers 1 January of about £1.5 million for McCabe with the 50% sell on, and we rejected them because we thought he'd make it, and now he's gone for 100 grand. So lesson learned on that occasion. We won't make that mistake again. We've then loaned out the likes of John Richards, who's back for his second spell, but not good enough for the first team. Michael Hill out of the reserves, another young Italian too. Lee Turner's gone out to Accrington, Joe Edwards on the other wing to Halifax. John McGeever, that man who we thought would make it, another one we've rejected offers for in the region of £1 million. He's now gone to Shamrock on loan and looks like he's going to be worth next to nothing. We've got the other young defender who's gone out to Truro, Lee Ramsbaum, who we signed in January. He's gone on loan to Swansea as we loaned in a better player. And then Johnny Byrne, our club captain of many years, has gone to Carlisle for 30 grand. A brilliant player he was for us, but he wanted to leave for a new challenge, and hopefully he'll get that now. So moving on to the ins, we've got Darren Watt, the first one. We've already mentioned he's gone out on loan to Southend. He's coming from Celtic on a free, a 2.5-star striker with 4.5 potential. He's really decent, to be honest. He's fairly solid across the board, but he doesn't look like a standout yet, so we're getting him a season of football in League 2. The same applies for Dominic Dagnall. We got him on a free from Manchester United. Again, 2-star ability, 4.5 potential. He looks like a player that could make it, and we're just giving him the opportunity opportunity. He's going out on loan to Southend where he'll get some more football, and hopefully when he recovers from injury he can do well down there. Moving on to our first paid signing of the summer, Corey Houlihan from Swansea, 650,000, one of our biggest ever signings. He's a 19-year-old Welsh under-21 international, a centre-half with 2.5-star ability and 5-star potential. Looks a really promising prospect, and he's going to be involved in cup games this year, as well as being a backup for us. He's got 7 appearances for Derby last season, who obviously valued him highly, and we've managed to get him for a pretty decent fee, so he should make us a profit at the very least. Next along the list is Carl Cohen. We've loaned him in from Reading for £9,000 a month. He's a 3-star right midfielder with 5-star potential, can cover at right wing back and in the attacking role. He's crucial to the new tactic we're looking to play this season, which we'll go and introduce in a minute, but if all goes wrong he can still cover at wing back, which gives us another option to change it back. Then moving on to another string of loan signings from here, 3 of them utilising our parent club Liverpool, one of them's an absolute superstar. We got Marcus Davis, the young right back, he's 2.5-star ability, 5-star potential, was brought in as a backup for Richard Quirk and maybe getting more football than he expects soon. Next along is David Fraser, he's the backup for Adam Lewis on the left wing, 3-star ability, 4.5 potential, prefers to be an attacking winger but he's going to have to settle for a left midfield role for us. And then the third of the lot is the best one of them all, is Lee Rutherford from Liverpool again. £23 million this man's worth. He's a 4-star ability striker with 4.5 potential. An advanced forward who scored at a rate of 1 in 2 for Cardiff. I presume that was at championship level. It was indeed, so he's got plenty of goals at this level and he looks like an absolute superstar. An under 21 cap for England. Over £8 a week he's on at Liverpool and he looks like he could be something special and one of the ones that leads us towards the playoffs. The last signing is Tom Allingham. He's a young midfielder from Arsenal, plays in that number 10 role and he's the reason we loaned out Ramsbottom. Again he's 4-star ability, 4.5 potential. He's worth £10 million and a brilliant player. Has again played at this level for Cardiff, Brighton and Preston. And it's just such a shame with those 2 loan signings that we're now going to be losing a couple of stars on permanent deals. So let's go and look at those. We've got to go and look at the miserable facts eventually. The main one that's on his way out is Richard Quirk. Our first ever youth intake star, the one who was going to make it, the one who we couldn't accept all the offers for, even when we were getting ones in the region of 13 to 15 million. But then Southampton came along, didn't they? £20 million in guaranteed money, rising to 25. And it's not about instalments if he does certain things. That's guaranteed future payments. We're getting £25 million for a player who came through our youth intake 2 years ago. We've got the 50% sell-on fee as well, not a percentage of the profit, just his sale in total. So this deal is going to pay for this club's future, but it's such a sad one to see him go. If we go and look at his overview, he's now 3-star ability, 5-star potential. He's becoming a really well-rounded fullback and he's already got 4 under 21 caps for England. He's going to be a superstar, but after 67 appearances and probably a 68th today, he'll be on his bike and moving on to the Premier League. Before any of you mention it, we did try to get him back on a loan deal till the end of the season, but Southampton wouldn't accept the offer with that clause in, and I can kind of understand it, to be honest. They're paying £25 million for someone, they don't just want to loan him out again. So a real disappointing one that. The man we were prepared to let go beforehand, who is also going to be on his way out, is Robson Brown, the young centre-half. Ipswich have bid £1.5 million up front, rising to 2.5 with our favourite sell-on clause. Although he's been a fairly decent player for us, his potential isn't actually that great, unless our scouts and assistants have misjudged it, of course, but he's going to be on his way. He was only going to be our 3rd choice, now we've changed to a back 4, so it makes sense for him to go while his value's still high. So he'll be on his bike soon. I hope in some crazy way Richard Quirk is able to stay, but it seems like the writing's on the wall now, and he's going to be on his way out the club. I just want to check there's no other transfers going. There is, I've missed one more. Remember Cliff Wheeler, anyone? He went out on loan last season to Burton, got some football in the EFL. He's a really decent player with fairly high potential and he's versatile too, but Aston Villa again have come in with a ridiculous bid. £4 million up front, another 4 in guaranteed money and then some add-on clauses as well. We've got the 50% sell-on fee, so another 10 million or so in the bank, and with those 2 deals done, we really didn't need to sell Quirk, but you can't reject 25 million for an 18-year-old right back. There are plenty of clubs towards the top of the footballing ladder with far bigger reputations than Torquay who have had to accept offers like that in the past, and we have to accept that we've just lost out this time as Southampton have bid us under the table. So there's all the transfer news at the moment. It's been a very interesting summer. There's plenty more action to be done. There's still bids coming in for players like John Gerrard and Rowan McDonald, Trevor Chalobah as well, but I'm trying to keep hold of the more experienced one to build a core team that can get promotion. I think if these sales go through, particularly the one of Quirk, we may have to revise our strategy by 1 year. We were really hoping to attack promotion this season, but I think we'll have to go through one more mediocre campaign, particularly as we haven't got a big enough squad yet, and the financial rewards for the new stadium haven't quite hit us and our wage budget yet. It's a shame because we've got two absolute superstars on loan as we introduced a moment ago, but without Richard Quirk, I'm suddenly a little bit deflated. So before we polish off the transfer special, we've got to show you what all of that means for our lineup, what tactic does it mean we're going to employ this year, and what players do we have to fill those roles. So if we go to our tactics screen, we're going to a 4-4-2, but no classic 4-4-2. We're going to the wide diamond to suit the players we've got here. There's a very simple reason for that. We couldn't get good central midfielders, and we haven't got enough backup in that position. Added to that the fact we were able to get Allingham last week, and it just made it a no-brainer to play this formation. I've done it before once on the channel. That was in FM19 Touch with Stockport, just a one-season challenge, so we've got a little bit of experience, even if it's not all that relevant for this season. I've also got experience of playing this formation on FM08. I used to be my beloved Luton Town just after they were relegated to League One. Litai, the former Everton Chinese player, he used to be available on a free, and I used to sign him in the holding role and play him in this formation. So I'm hoping it'll work well this year. Although we've got a fairly average team across the board, we've got three absolute superstars in Adam Lewis, Allingham and Rutherford, the two loan signings. So we're going for a pretty flat back four, two supporting fullbacks, not getting too far forward. We've loaned in Otte again from Tottenham. He's extended his loan, and although he's naturally a wing-back, he can play this role pretty well. The two wing-backs from last year go into the wide midfield areas, although we've got Cohen who can come in on the right if need be. So if we do end up selling Richard Quirk, Nico Williams will probably revert to right back, and then we'll have Cohen on the right of midfield. We're in a brilliant position up front where we've got two fantastic strikers, Duncan and Gerrard on the bench, and Frank Hall there as well, who are all going to be absolute superstars, so you can see why we're letting Cliff Wheeler go, especially as the offer's too good to refuse. We're sticking with a positive mentality. We want to control the game, but this season from wider areas. Probably quite similar to what we did in the first couple of years where we were playing a 4-4-2 in non-league. Obviously that was a flat midfield four, but it doesn't change the tactic. We get the ball to the wingers and get the ball in the box for Broder and Rutherford. We've got a creative midfielder should the ball fall 25 yards out, and we'll just see how that pans out in the middle. If we start getting overrun, as those red areas seem to indicate, we can change things around if need be. And finally, if we go and look at the schedule, we're going to do something slightly different for the start of this year, mainly because our first game's away from home against Derby, and as you know we're moving into a new stadium, so I want to show the first game in that ground on camera, and that's against Bradford City next week. So we're going to play the first game off camera in a minute, and then I'll be back in a couple of days' time for that Bradford game, which is going to be a crucial one in the Championship as we look to make our new home ground a fortress. But as always, if you did enjoy this transfer and tactics special, please put a thumbs up on the video. Let me know what you think of these. I'm still relatively new to them. Normally I just used to commentate on a game and introduce the transfers, but I quite enjoy introducing them in a bit more detail and taking you through the tactic we're actually going to use. So let me know if that's something you enjoy. We can obviously go back to the old format if this doesn't really help many people. But I do want to try and give you a bit more access to what we do off the pitch, behind the scenes in the transfer window, not just the players I've signed but why, and the tactic we're playing and what I hope to exploit, rather than you just seeing it in action for the first day of the season. As always, as we reach a brand new season and we're now into double figures, a massive thank you to everyone who continues to follow the series. I really do appreciate it. Let me know down in the comments what you think of our summer work. Are you as devastated as me to see Richard Quirk on his way out? And as always for the first episode of the season, let me know where you think we're going to finish this year. Can we nick a place in the playoffs, or are we resigned to mid-table again? Subscribe to the channel for daily FM19 content from my 2 long-term stories, this one with Torquay United, and then our Journeyman series, The Head Coach. We're well into season 9 in that series as well. It's been a whirlwind season, so if you haven't seen that one yet, then go back and check it out. There's also brand new content coming from another new sports game over the coming weeks. I'm really looking forward to trying Snooker 19, and I'm going to be putting some content out from that game every Friday. We're going to do a little mini career mode there, so if you are a fan of other sports games, then pop along and check that one out too. It's something quite new to me on the channel, as I've only ever done football games before. This was always part of the long-term plan, so give me a feedback and tell me if you enjoy it. But a massive thanks for watching and your continued support with the series as always, and we'll see you next time for our first ever game in our brand new ground. Come and join me as we introduce the Torquay Stadium.